Okay, well, welcome back. My name is Richard. We're back here at Prague TEDx. I'm here today with Johnem Raddalem, coach consultant from Quanta Consulting, and John is from South Africa. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. From Johannesburg in South Africa.
Brilliant. Well, welcome here. Is this your first TEDx event?
First TEDx event. I've watched many of the TEDx videos in the past, and I've also been to Prague many times before. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's been a great event today.
Now, what you know of the TEDx, what do you like most about it in terms of its brand, in terms of what it's all about?
I think what's greatest about TEDx is that it sort of pioneers. It looks at what's new. It looks at what's possible. So it's not the conventional. It's the different, and I think it lays a great foundation for innovative thinking and innovative action.
Okay, brilliant. Now, today you talked about behavior theories and practices, and I think we've all experienced good leadership and bad leadership skills. Touched a little bit something today about called the time machine, and there's three key things you talked about: energy, evolution, and emergence. Can you just highlight a little bit of the principle of this?
Yes, of course. You know, the key thing, if we're working in organizations or wherever, is that we become creatures of habit. And even though we think we have a free will, most of the time we actually don't, because we're conditioned by our environment and so on. And what we're doing with the time machine is saying to people that it is possible to change your future. It is not fixed. But in order to get to the future, you need to do something special. You need to use the technique of the time machine, because you can't go from A to Z. So many people say, well, I'd like to be over there, I'd like to be rich, I'd like to be this, I'd like to be that, but they don't know how to get there. And the secret to this methodology is that there's certain small steps that you can take that bring the future into the present. So they have a sort of holographic effect. Even though it looks small here, it is part of something much more complex in the future. And if people are just prepared to implement that, they will acquire that new future.
Okay. There's something about the small steps. Now, there's an expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Obviously, taking baby steps, that phrase is obviously wrong. How do you start down the path of adjusting and positively changing leadership and manager skills? Is it just repetition in small steps?
Well, it's very important to understand the nature of the energy fractal that you implement. Because in an organization, it's quite interesting. You can't tell people how to think, you can't tell them how to feel, but you can tell them how to behave, because you pay for behavior. And organizations are actually comprised of energy fractals. They're filled with fractal rules, conscious and unconscious. And if you want to change the way an organization operates, you have to change those basic energy fractal rules. And most people will comply with a new behavior. So whether it's an old dog, young dog, if it's part of the requirement, it's a new rule, if you like, it will have the energy fractal impact in that system.
Okay. Now, just a couple more questions here. During your talk today, you were talking about energy fractal systems. I'm going to try to shift this in a political direction. What would happen if we applied your practice of energy fractal systems on a third world dictator? Question with a twist.
No, not twist at all. All our political systems, all religious systems, social systems, are driven by core fractal beliefs and fractal behaviors. So a third world dictator, for example, has the power to implement everything in a very rigid fractal way. So if you were going to apply, well, a good example is the Arab Spring. One of the fractals that has emerged is the fact that we now have technology where everybody can communicate. So the dictator loses the power of knowledge. And that's the greatest thing of our modern society, is that the dictators won't last anymore to the same extent, because you can't hide the power. So if you look at communist Russia and the Czech Republic 20 years ago, people didn't have access to the internet. They didn't have access to knowledge and power. So I would say that the key fractal here for getting rid of dictators is the communication, the technology that goes with it. You know, each simple YouTube communication is what it's all about. Yeah?
Brilliant. Okay, and one last question. I only have about 30 seconds here. One of today's themes are heroes all around us. Which leader or hero most inspires you?
Well, there are a couple. In my own country, we have Nelson Mandela, which has been terrific. And in the corporate sense, I've always admired Steve Jobs, because he's bucked the system, been this fantastic, innovative pioneer, filled with beautiful fractals based on beauty. So, yeah.
Brilliant and simple. Fantastic. Thank you for your time, John. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice chatting.